Hey guys, Waterfowler41, and in my last video I promised you I had a quick little, doohickey video from a little purchase I made on Amazon a couple days ago, and this is it. So what we're looking at here is one side of a door sill kit I picked up from a vendor on Amazon called Hound Auto. So that is their logo there. Oop. And essentially what this is adhesive templates or adhesive stickers, for lack of a better term, that will adhere to the door sill of the Ram Rebel. So one thing that kind of bugs me about this truck, and it was an issue with a lot of trucks in the past, is there's no protection here. And especially with my kids and this fella, the issue is they like to get up and down into the car themselves, and sometimes I can't catch them before I can help them, and this is what happens. So what you're seeing here is a bunch of scratches on here. And ultimately scratches will go through the paint, and then that'll result in rust in the long term. So what I wanted to do is find something that I can put on here that'll protect it. Now there's a bunch of different options out there as far as availability for our truck or our trucks. Obviously there's clear 3M protectors that you can use, or Laminex has one as well. In my application, I wanted to go with something that is not clear, mostly because I have a ton of scratches, particularly in the back doors for my kids, that I want to cover up. So here is what I purchased. So essentially these are stickers. They're just stickers that go wrap the sill nicely, and they fit the truck perfectly. So like I said, in full transparency, I already did the passenger side because I wanted to kind of do a test drive before I was fully committed on making a video on this stuff. But this is the protectors. So you can see that they have kind of a rough finish. I'll say it equates similar to either a Line-X finish, where it's a little bit thinner and slipperier. It's not as sticky or pokey as the Rhino Liner. This is it on top of my X-Stang Encore bed cover, and it's basically the same finish, so it looks nice. So like I said, you get one template or one sticker for the front door, and then for the back door you get two, because the door sill is much bigger and you want to make sure you cover the bottom as well as up the sides. So when you buy these, what else you get? You obviously get some isopropyl alcohol wipes, and then they give you a nice squeegee here that's felt line. So I'm a big fan of the felt line ones. However, I will say with this application, you don't need that. You also get instructions, and I will say instructions are nice, but these are not really specific to the truck, and it took a little while for me to figure out exactly how these go on. So hence I wanted to make the video, because it's pretty easy once you kind of figure out how they set these things up. It's not self-explanatory in here, but I'll show you. So front door, back door. So if you notice on the front door, you'll see this little divot here in the top of the template itself, and that divot actually lines up with the trim inside the door. Okay, so we are inside the door here, and we got our front liner, and essentially what goes on is you take that little divot and you line it up with that seam of your trim. So this seam right here. So you're gonna line that up there, and then on the sides there's these little ears. You want to make sure that the corner of the ear lines up with the edge of the fold or the seam here on both sides. So when you adhere it here, then you go to the other side, do the same thing. You're gonna make sure the long portion goes on top and that it tucks over the seam with that little edge or little trim piece there, and then the rest of it just kind of folds down and it adheres down here nicely. It's very easy. I almost think that felt line squeegee makes it a little bit more complicated than it actually is, because it doesn't slide very well in here, and it's actually easier to use your fingers so you don't get air bubbles in this. And this stuff's pretty forgiving. Again, it's kind of a rough texture, so even if you get a small bubble in it, you're not going to see it. But basically you line it up here, you line up on the edge here, and then you line up on the other side, and then you just slowly work your way from the top and then fold it over and then start pressing down. So like I said, the rear is two pieces. So the first piece is this guy. That guy will go up on top, and there's a divot or a little marker cut in there as well, and that lines up right with that seam. And again, same thing, because it's dog-eared on the sides, you're gonna line that up with the seam and then just basically fold this guy over. And this one, once you line it up with the seam there, it actually does go a good ways up the door sill itself. But again, once you just line it up on here, then you're good to go. So there's that portion, and then on the bottom, I kind of wish this was one piece, but I see why it's two pieces. It's a lot easier to deal with. So on the bottom, you get this little guy, and he's going to cut over there, and you basically line up the piece of adhesive with where this little this little trim or edge starts. And with the back, do the top first and then come back and do the bottom, because it'll make 100% sense, because this actually lines up with the edge on here. So pretty simple. Start in the top, do the bottom. So the first thing I'm going to do is wipe everything down with isopropyl alcohol to get everything nice and clean, and then we'll go ahead and start with the front. Okay, so now that we got everything cleaned up as best I can, again, we're going to find that little divot in the template, and that's going to line up with our trim piece here. And then the other piece we're going to line up is this edge, as well as that edge over there. So ultimately, there's going to be some paint gap between this and the little, I guess, the liner. And then as we're adhering it, we're going to fold it over. And like I said, this stuff is pretty forgiving, so let's rock and roll. So basically what I'm going to do is pull off the whole backing and then just go ahead, line up the top. And then from there, just kind of slowly work everything into place. And I'm going to start in the middle and go towards the outside. They give you the spatula. You can certainly use that if you want, but it's not really necessary. So one trick is you basically put your fingers at the edge, these little dog ears, and that's going to line up right with the seam where you want it. And then you drop it down on the seam here. And like I said, you can kind of take a few shots at it. Alright, so there we go. We're lined up there, we're lined up there. So I'm going to start up here and just slowly smooth everything out. It takes the contour pretty nicely. And then I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm going to slowly start to go over this little seam here. And there we go. So we are installed. There you go. The front is done. So it's still a sticker at the end of the day, but it's some protection. So again, this is going to give you a little bit more protection than just bare paint would when going in. And obviously we try not to hit our heels and whatnot on here, but this part's going to get scratched up inevitably. So this will at least help slow down some of that wear and tear. So now that that guy is on, let's go ahead and do the rear. Okay, I said with the rear you'll want to start with the top piece. So again, this piece is going to go right here. It's going to line up with this point. So you got your little divot. It's going to line up with the well or the seam there, and then the seam here. And then you just basically take the stuff and work it into all the seams. And like I said, I think I said it about 1 billion times at the front. This stuff is really easy to work with, so it's pretty forgiving. So when you get like wrinkles like that in the corner, all you got to do is just push it down, and the adhesive works perfectly fine. So the other trick I found with this one is when you pull off the backing, rip the backing in half. Work from here first and then work your way up. It gives you a little bit more forgiveness in the piece once you start to adhere it. So let's get the backing off on this guy. So pull it down about halfway, then I'll rip it. Then we only need to worry about half of the sticker adhering right now. Let's go ahead and apply. So you start at this end because you have that little marker there for the seam. Put that side down. And this one, because it's so long, gotta kind of work it in. You know where you want to end up ultimately at the end, and you just need to slowly land. Just rides right up the seam there. And we're done. So the last thing we're going to do then is just take this piece and roll it over the edge. And as you roll it, kind of push towards the bottom, and then that should allow it to seal. So look, we already covered up one of the scratches from Remy. Now the next piece goes right here, and it basically continues this little guy. So the trick on this guy, and I didn't master it on the other side, but the trick here is to try to get this piece butted up as close as possible to here, and then this little piece will just tuck right underneath this vent and kind of continues through the door sill. So I'm going to rip the piece of tape, the backing right here, so we can line up this guy. And like I said, your marker here is it lines up with the edge there, and then just let everything else line up. And then we're going to take this guy and it just continues on in here until it's pulled down. There's no divot on here because there's no body seam or trim seam. But you are tying it in right there. So the focus on this guy is to just get this as close as possible to up here. Let's get this guy off. We'll pull that guy straight that way, and then we'll go back. Not much complicated body. So there we go. Now we got protection in both the door sills. So honestly, some people might be bugged out by this little white trim here that you can see, where you can see the white paint and then you can see the notch, but I get why the notch is there. And honestly, the protection that this gives you, I could definitely look past the fact that this is just a sticker, but this is still protection that I didn't have before, and you saw that I already had scratches in there from the dog and the kids, so hopefully this helps slow that down. If not, my dog's older, this at least gives him a little bit of grip when he's trying to climb in by himself. The rear door. And the front door. Get the light on here. So there's the front door. Like I said, it's kind of got a Line-X texture to it. And the rear door. Honestly, I don't know how long these last. This is my first time ever using something like this. However, I wish I had this on my last truck because I for sure chipped the paint in the front when I was getting out with boots on. So now I got some protection. Front and back door. So like I said, I'm going to leave the link in the description for this. This is not a bad product, and honestly, it took me all of about 10 minutes to apply each side. So for 33 bucks, you get a little bit more protection than door sill. And I've seen some people say that you see it when you close the door, but honestly, you don't. Maybe they corrected their design since then. So 33 bucks, I think, is what I purchased them on Amazon, and they came in about a day. Now it's time to clean the truck. A lot of dog hair in there. Anyways, with that said, thank you very much for watching the video. Appreciate it. Like, comment, and without a doubt, please, by all means, subscribe to my channel. I got a bunch more videos coming up, and might have a little bit of a lift kit for the front of the truck coming in a very near future. Probably working on that this weekend. So, that said, appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.